Hi, Chris here with the Chuwi Hi10. This is the Geekbench 3 score. It's more or less the same as the Chuwi Vi10 and other Atom Z8300 tablets that I have tested or reviewed. Has the PC Mark 7 score, CloudGate 1.1. It's an okay score for this type of tablet. And the iStorm 1.2 score. Surprisingly, having the extra 2 gigabytes of RAM versus the Chuwi Vi10 Ultimate isn't actually making any difference whatsoever to the performance of the tablet. So the GPU doesn't seem to have any more RAM allocated to it than the 2 gigabyte version. Well, the Vi10, sorry. So it doesn't make any difference. That extra RAM just allows us to multitask more. Maybe it might help a little bit with the performance in Windows, but I'm not actually noticing any real difference. Here's the 3D Mark 11 score. So the internal storage, the eMMC that's on board is a Hynix, and here are the speeds of it. So 80 right almost is quite a good score there for the type of drive it is, the type of storage it is. 4K speeds, they're okay, the random 4K speeds, and the read speeds there of 123, not the fastest, but I've definitely seen worse. I mean, I have seen only literally about 50 or 60 from one of those BWin drives or the 4C drives that are very slow, so that's not too bad. But this could vary. Chuwi and other manufacturers from China tend to use whatever they have in stock, so the batches of drives they use does actually vary. And this one right in the middle is the USB 3 port speed. I was just testing out there with a SanDisk 64 gigabyte pen drive, and that's quite fast, as fast as it could actually get really out of that port. And here we have the micro SD card slot. I used a Samsung Evo 64 gigabyte micro SD, and that's about the fastest it can get. Those speeds there are definitely the high speeds. It doesn't limit itself to 23 megabytes per second, unlike the Bay Trail devices, last generation Atom. Now I'll just quickly show you, here's the wireless card. It's the typical one we see on all of these tablets. Literally most of them, apart from the Broadcom one that now and then pops up, but it's a Realtek. Wireless in, unfortunately not wireless AC. It's really time that we should start to see, hopefully this year, some wireless AC cards coming in. And there's the drive there, so the Hynix. Now I'll just show you that this particular version is definitely running Windows 64-bit. The first batch had a bit of a problem because they actually released it with Windows 10 32-bit. So you couldn't even make use of that 4 gigabytes of RAM. You can only access 3 gigabytes, or 2.9 on that version, because 32-bit operating system can only address a maximum of 3 gigabytes of RAM. So we do have the 4 gigabytes there, and we can access all of that, which is good to see. How's that's going to really help out? Well, you can probably multitask a little bit better having that RAM there, but it is only single channel RAM, so it's not particularly fast, but it will allow us to have more tabs open in Chrome to run other applications and programs and things all at the same time. Should be a little bit smoother, and the fact that it is 64-bit, well, you can run 64-bit apps, which you can't do on other models that only run 32-bit. And Windows 10 there, you can see activated. They haven't hacked it or anything like that. It's a proper valid version, so no problems there. It's all legal, legit. And when you do actually set the tablet up, first turn it on, you do have various languages to run, so you don't actually need to install any language packs. You've got Spanish, Russian, Chinese, and English, I think, with the languages there. And it does actually come with the latest November Windows 10 update. So when you see this menu in grey and not white, that means it's got that latest collective update that Windows released. You don't have to bother about updating that. So it's a recent image that they've used, Chuwi. Okay, so what about thermals? to take a screenshot here after doing all of those benchmarks that I ran. So I ran the 3D Mark 11 test, which is extremely demanding for a tablet. It doesn't really have the power at all to run that test very smoothly at all. So it's maxing out the GPU and the CPU at the same time. And we got up to 85 degrees, so the same old problem with these cherry trails that do run a lot hotter than the bay trails. So it got up to 85 degrees, so just zoom into this a little bit. And it didn't actually trigger any thermal throttling, but it wouldn't have been far off from doing that. So if I scroll this up, you see thermal throttling on the cores, no. That's good, we don't want to see that. But 85 degrees, starting to get quite hot. The back of the tablet, just on the top left hand side where all the ports are and the power button, does get a little bit warm around that area. It's nothing alarming. It was only probably about 5 degrees away from where it would definitely throttle itself down and lower those clock speeds significantly to keep temperatures down, and that would have affected performance. But even when I was using it, doing some gaming on it, and it got up to 85 degrees, it didn't seem to. I didn't really experience any throttling or any slowdown or a complete loss of the performance. Didn't experience anything like that, so that was good to see. Another thing I just wanted to also point out is that I mentioned in one of my first videos that I had some trouble charging the tablet when it's on. And at the moment, it's not actually charging, but I did start to charge it when it was at 80% battery, and it took 2 hours, just shy of 2 hours, to get to 100%. This is when the tablet's in use, so it's very slow to charge. Now, if you use the stock supplied Chuwi power adapter and their cable, it will actually lose charge slowly. Definitely, if you run the screen at 100%, there's no way that that power supply and the cable is going to deliver enough current to charge and operate the tablet. And if you've got 100% brightness and gaming, then you're slowly going to lose charge. That is actually typical on these tablets. You're going to see that. The best way to get past that problem, I find, is to use a different, more powerful USB power supply and cable. Use one that's shorter with a thicker cable, so better gauge, better quality of wire. And what I've been using is a Blitzwolf charger and cable, and I found that that works, will allow me to use the tablet as per normal. I can be on the internet, and it will slowly but surely charge itself. You're not going to actually lose any battery life. But it's not good to see that the supply charge is not up to the job really. So it's something to think about, that if you're going to be using this at the same time, you're going to have to try and find a more powerful power supply, or turn it off or put it into sleep, charge it, then use it, which isn't ideal. So I'm just going to check out some games now, have a look at League of Legends, Warface, and Counter-Strike, and a few other store games. So just a few other things here. I've got Task Manager up. You can see the memory use at the moment is 42%, and I'll just run the browser performance here. It's actually not bad. You saw the animation, as I mentioned before, is a little bit slow, but I've noticed that on other cherry trails with this particular processor running Edge. I'm scrolling there with my fingernail on the actual touch screen, and it doesn't seem to be too bad. And if I use the mouse, the scroll wheel, just as fast. So doing a little bit of multitasking here. I've actually clicked on the Yahoo tab, and for some reason it's not actually loading that in at all. It's interesting. I think that's a hiccup to do with Edge. I can't seem to close that tab, so it's completely just crashed on me. A bit random. Don't know what's happening there. So those are loading in now at the background. So overall, the performance of the tablet, it doesn't seem too bad. At this point, whoops, my mouse has got a bit of lag then. At this point, it doesn't actually feel any faster really to me than the Chuwi Hi10 Ultimate. As I mentioned, you do have that extra RAM, so you probably can push it a little bit harder multitasking. By the way, hard drive external one, the 2.5 inch 1 TB drive that I have. Plug that in, it works fine. It actually does power it. And I did have some problems with the Cube iWork 11. It wouldn't actually power the hard drive at all. It would try to connect up and just keep clicking on and off. But it's good to know that at least this Chuwi does work with external hard drives without any problems there. So just a quick look there at the benchmarks and a few other things to do with the tablet. And I'm actually just capturing this straight out of the HDMI port into a external capture card. So that shouldn't be affecting the performance. What you see on the screen should be pretty much just how the tablet is running, so you get a good idea of that. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully see you on the channel. I will have a few more up and coming videos on the Chuwi Hi10, so keep an eye out for those if you're interested in this particular model.